Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Valerie Delforge. She is a international business strategy consultant. She is the founder and CEO of the Delforge Group. Welcome to the show, Valerie.
Thank you so much, AJ, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you today on this glorious Monday.
Right. It is good. It is good. Nowadays, it's, from earlier on, people used to call it Manic Monday. It is nice to see that it's a glorious Monday. And I hope this continues to be that
I prefer
way for a
glorious.
lot of
Yes.
people.
I prefer starting the week, with a good mindset.
Absolutely. And that is why we are talking about, creating a sustainable and profitable business. I'm sure a lot of people will learn a lot of good things this Monday and make it very profitable for themselves. So my first question to understand from you, Valerie, is that you talk about creating sustainable and profitable business. You mostly assist, leaders in spa and beauty industries. How
Yes.
do you create a sustainable business in and profitable business in a beauty industry in which is so full of chemicals? I want to understand. Let's start it from there.
I mean, look, it doesn't matter which business you're in, to be honest with you. It can be beauty, it can be spas. That's what we're specializing in, hair salons, etc. But it also is, we've been dealing with restaurants or coffee shops or clothes shops, or anyone within the service industry has been our forte. What we find with the owners most of the time is that they are really running the day-to-day operation. So they're very focused on the day-to-day. They're very focused on what needs to happen today. Someone's fond of sick. The cleaner hasn't cleaned. The delivery's not kind of come in. And then it's just all this day-to-day that's eating away into what you should be doing as an entrepreneur, as an owner. So a lot of time when we're looking at the long-term sustainability, when we talk about sustainability, it's working on the strategies. And I feel that it sometimes is lacking. And that lack of strategy allows us to kind of work on the day-to-day, but not really looking at the further longer picture. So a lot of time we meet owners that knows what they're doing. They've built a very good business. They know what they're doing. They've got their ideas kind of there. They've got the focus, but there's missing that kind of, when we talk to them on long term, there's missing that direction a little bit. Or we have a vision, but it feels very distant. It feels like it's actually too much of a long vision to be able to believe in it and sustain it. So we talk a lot about strategies, and I kind of stopped doing the whole 5-year, 10-year plan. Some people we work with, of course, they do have the 5-year, 10-year plan. But we're looking at, for example, in 2024, by the end of 24, how do you want to work? What is your ideal structure? What's your ideal organization? Everything since the beginning of becoming consultant 10 years ago. Prior to that, I was head of spa operation for a big company called Steiner. Everything runs around the strategy, and everything runs around how do you want and what do you want to learn by the end of next year. Once we started organizing structure and operation, to me it's about structure and operation, doesn't matter which business you're in, then we can look at the further bigger picture. But if you are in the day-to-day, you don't really know where to start. A lot of clients that come to work with us is, look, I've got all this information out there. There's a huge amount of information, but I don't know where to start. We go back to structure, organization. Is the structure helping you? Is the organization actually healthy for you? And does that work for the long term? Because if you've got that right, then everything else can fall into place.
Right, Valerie. So, what is it that these owners who know about their business, they are expert at what they are doing, what is it that they generally come to you for? Are they having, leadership issues? Are they having other issues? And how do you help them? I want to understand this present moment, what are these owners, especially, if I understand you are based in London, a lot
Yes,
of people from that area,
yes,
and you are an international business strategy consultant
yes.
also from outside, so what is it that they are facing in terms of business problems that you can solve for them?
On an international level, we have a huge recruitment issue. It doesn't matter where you're from, the recruitment, we talk a lot about the new generation not being as strong as what we want them to be. The education is lacking, or we can get the 1 day course and suddenly I can become this. So it becomes a huge issue when it comes to recruitment, and when it comes to the mindset of the owner, because if you're lacking of recruitment of staff, you're then going into the lack of financial possibility, that a lot of them have issues with cash flow, or they're finding it difficult to make ends meet, or is constantly paying this to paying that, and it becomes a vicious circle a little bit. So we deal with what we call the Delforge 5, which is where I believe is going to be changing the business. Number one is budget. So if we know the budget and understand the budget inside out, we can forecast. Maybe you don't need that extra staff member. Maybe that extra staff member, actually the ones that you have, the teams that you have are not profitable enough. So we may need to make them profitable before we start recruiting. Maybe we need to revisit the opening hours. So there's an element of the numbers, and I believe numbers don't lie. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in, the numbers don't lie. And we all want to work for better money, for money that is not worrying you at the end of the day, or at the end of the month, or at the end of the year. So we want to make sure that on the budget, you really know everything. So even if you come to us for leadership, which is the second of the Delforge 5 is leadership, we need to understand how you function. And the budget tends to allow me to see the pattern in the business, and that allows me. So ideally, we want to start with the budget. But within leadership, we talk to you about how to handle, obviously, the teams, how to handle who you're working with, and being the leader of that team. But most of all is understanding how you function as a leader. I did a lot, AJ. I did so many leadership courses that were not in the industry at some point, different leadership courses, and it was all about me. Okay, great. I know what I need to work on as a leader to become a bit better leader. And I've worked on that every single year. I was managing large teams at some point. So I needed to become the leader I wanted to be. But I started looking at leadership in a different way, where is leadership affecting my team? How is my leadership affecting my team? How do we recruit? Because when we talk about recruitment, sometimes, I'm hearing shock horror stories on the candidate point of view. So are we actually attracting the right person, or are we recruiting like we always have done, and we need to start thinking a little bit differently? I've heard interviews in a coffee shop one day from this young girl was being interviewed by this manager, it seemed, and the way he was talking to her, I was just like, please don't take the job. It's just awful, because there was no empowerment from day one. So we really kind of go back to basic. How do we recruit? What do we need to recruit? How do we make sure that the structure, again, it goes back to the structure, supports you? Who does what in the business? How does that help you as the owner to elevate what you actually need to do, which is bringing in the business and the networking and the marketing, and making sure that you are the machine at the top that really allows the team to function. Then we talk about reception, which is very specific to our industry, but reception can be, behind the counter in a coffee shop, etc. We talk about retail sales, how to upsell, how to cross-sell, how to retail, and obviously the marketing strategy, which to me is everything. A lot of time we meet owners that are, I'm not going to say I'm going to give you 1,000 followers. That's not me. But I believe there's no strategy. So we post for the sake of posting. We kind of, oh God, I need to put something on story. So this very last minute, and that's not strategic. So we want, when you work with us, it's very much working ahead, really start thinking ahead. Right now, we should be cluttering, finalizing January, February, March. And in January, we're going to talk about April, May, June. So we're constantly working in advance, and it becomes exciting. And I think the owner tends to have his leadership crushed by the day to day, by the lack of staff, by the lack of training, by the lack of support. So a lot of time when that happens, we tend to kind of slash training, marketing, because oh, that's an extra cost, so I'm going to get rid of that. But actually, it's when you need to did the most, really. So I love one-to-one coaching. I love one-to-one coaching. I've always done it, and a lot of consultants do group coaching. I can't find myself in group coaching. I'm maybe a bit of an old-fashioned consultant, but I like the one-to-one. I like to grow, because you might have the same business. Let's say that we're talking about restaurant, or we're talking about beauty salons, or we're talking about, clothes shop, or furniture shop, any kind of service element. I've even dealt with electricians, accountants that had a team behind them. A lot of time you kind of look at your structure, and you're kind of, as I said, lost by the day to day, and you're functioning the same. So having a consultant, having someone just to kind of cast the eyes on how you function, because you can have the same businesses, you have the different aspiration to your competitor, you have the different structure to your competitor, you have a different focus to your competitor. So it's highlighting that and believing in it, because a lot of time we just so into the day to day, we don't even believe in what we've done anymore. We're just on that wheel, isn't it, that motions. So it's believing, going back to the alignment of yourself and your business, I think is very important.
Right, Valerie. You talked about recruitment issue as one of the top issues that a lot of business owners face, and I'm trying to focus on especially small businesses who are trying to scale up and trying to get this, are getting trying to get the right sort of people for their organization, growing organization.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of times, it can come out because of the leadership issue or the leadership style.
Hmm.
How should you have written a book also? I would I would rather do it myself, from micromanagement to leadership.
Yes.
Answer this question in that backdrop if you want to, whatever, because especially we'll come down to the book also. uh, right. So the question is that in these times when it's a small organization, how does a leader who is very involved into the job,
Hmm.
and how does he differentiate between that he is not actually micromanaging his small group, and
Mm-hmm.
rather it is coming as involvement? Also,
Yes.
the new generation might think that he is micromanaging, whereas he might be thinking that he's mentoring. How
Yes.
does a leader then behave in this backdrop when he is very good at heart? Only few people want to jeopardize their own business,
Yes,
but
for
the
sure.
style might be different. So how does should a leader behave that he looks like a leader and does not look like a micromanager?
1,000,000%. And that's a really interesting question. I mean, look, ultimately, when we are a business owner, like you said, in a smaller enterprise in particular, I find that a lot harder in some ways than in a bigger company or corporate company, because you've got people doing things for you. You've got a marketing manager, you've got a director of PR, you've got all sorts of things, a maintenance, an IT person coming in to fixing your laptop. It's like heaven. So you don't really need to manage as such, because you have got the structure underneath you. So it goes back to that word structure. As a leader, I think it's asking yourself that if you are in the day-to-day operation so much, are there things that we can outsource? Do you need a PA? Do you need someone that's actually allowing you to offload the things that you don't want to do anymore, that you have perhaps overcome it? I mean, I met a owner not long ago who was still doing a VAT. Like, why are you doing a VAT on a Sunday afternoon for your accountant? Oh, well, can you find out how much it costs to get the accountant to get the bookkeeper to do the VAT? Texting me the following day, it's 100 quid extra. Spend that £100. That's going to be the best £100 you've ever spent, because you'll have your Sunday afternoon back and you don't need to worry about the VAT. That's not your role anymore. So we really structure what can be outsourced, what cannot. And sometimes if you have got financial difficulties, then we look at when can you outsource this, what can you make in order to grow better. But when it comes to the teams, I think it's a team culture. right? So there are some teams who want to learn. I've understood very quickly in my career, because I was managing such big teams, that not everyone is in the role they are for the same reason as you. I was very, very career minded. Some people want to come in to just earn some money and then that's it. Some people want to be career minded. Some people just want a bit of money to go traveling. Some people is between the children. So everyone's got their own aspiration, right? But I believe everyone in some respect wants to be developed or want to be good at what they do, because when they come to work, they want to feel good. Who wants to go to work to feel rubbish? We want to feel good. So perhaps it's assessing, and we do a lot of that, the individual development plan. If that person, I had a hairdresser once who was desperate to become an actor, and on a Tuesday he had to do the he had to do the what was it, his course on a Tuesday afternoon, and I could see it was bothering him. And I said, look, if you do the target and you work 2 more hours extra every day, you could have your Tuesday off, etc. So we worked in the compromising. I knew he was going to go at some point or another, and I'm okay with that because I'm aware of it. So I'm aware in 2 years he'll be gone. But I've given him something for him to be ultra motivated when he was with me,
Right.
So it's understanding each skills, understanding each person, what do they want, what do they want to learn. And sometimes you might be surprised that someone, actually, I love to do stock count, I love counting, I love spreadsheets. Great, can I offload that to you a couple of hours on a Tuesday? So it's really working with that individual development plan, really working with each individual to make sure that everyone does what they're supposed to do, and offloading some of the work you don't want to do. For example, I don't want to do invoices anymore. I can do it, but I don't want to do it anymore. I've done it for a long time once I was consultant. Now I've got an admin person. If she goes tomorrow, I'll find another admin person, because
Right.
it's important to kind of feel that, I've done it, been there, done that, worn the t-shirt. I need to pass my time on to something more effective, like having an
Right.
interview with you today, like being able to focus on my growth. And I think
Right.
when you're a micromanager, I don't think you necessarily know that you're a micromanager. I don't think you'll kind of sit down and think, well, I'm a micromanager. But if you have got kind of elements of you where you're realizing that everything relies on you, that no one's really engaged in what you want to do, then there's alarm bells that you should kind of come to you, and alarm bells thinking, okay, maybe I am controlling far too much. I was dealing with someone not long ago who was, just to give you an example, was creating an event. And, she was having her list of everything. And I said, right, let's start delegating. So we started delegating, tick, 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 tick. After about 2 weeks, it was going too slow. It wasn't going the way she wanted. She took it back. I'm going to finish it. I'd rather do it myself because I'm not frustrated. That's micromanagement, because we want the others to grow, to understand, to make mistakes, allowing mistakes, to really understand how they're going to function with that event in order for them to grow within that part of the role. So it's allowing to let go in some ways, which can be really hard. Like you said, it's your baby, isn't it? You've built that business yourself. But there are some
Right.
micromanagers that are very happy with the way they function, and I'm not going to change the way I am. Fine. But if you feel there's something that's not aligning with you, if you feel that the team is not engaged, if you feel the culture's missing, there's a big chance you're micromanaging.
Right. Right. So your book you have written on this. I would rather do it myself, from micromanagement to leadership. Who is this book for? Who can learn from this book? What they can learn from this book?
So it's mainly for owners and could be managers. And it's obviously a lot of examples of my background, which is spas, beauty and hair salons, but any kind of owners. When I said to you I work with an electrician, he was reading an article that I did on procedures, that his wife has a salon, and he contacted me and said, I need that. So it shows you that, it's available for everyone that wants to grow their leadership skills. We talk a lot about leadership, but what does that mean? So I talk a lot about soft skills of leadership, which are your time management, delegation, communication is the biggest one in the business. Even personal communication. Communication is one of the biggest soft skills you can gift yourself in a way. And I'm French and I live in the UK. I had to learn to put a lot of soften emotions, because French people tend to be direct and straight. My boss used to say to me, you need to kind of, soften and say please and thank you. And, the UK is not going to respond to you if you're not, a little bit more soft. So I had to learn communication. I did that early in my career to really understand how to communicate. What's the best impactful way to communicate to all these different characters that I have in front of me? So believing in yourself, and I want this book to make you feel that you're believing in yourself, and you are going to start working on that strategy and that structure to grow your business, but to grow yourself. And the minute, and we see it again and again and again, when a business is not doing so well, even if you're doing well financially, but you're feeling there's something not quite right in the way you're functioning, when a business in that way, that means you need to revisit your leadership. It's come from the top. I strongly believe that it comes from you. The culture comes from you at the top. So it's kind of, for me, important to reassess and assess where you're at so you can grow better and stronger.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is much to learn from you about all this, how to build a profitable and sustainable business. So for those people who would like to learn from you, for those people who would like to engage you as an international business strategy consultant, what's the best way for them to do so?
The best way is to go on the website and secure a little appointment where one of the team members will have a little consultation and assess what you need. Because, as I said, to me, everyone's got different aspirations, different dreams, different focuses. So we want to make sure that the focus is right for you. And so we'll respond. We've got programs and we've got all sorts of things. We might want to do the business analysis first. So we kind of assess where you're at, and then we'll find the best path for you with us. So it's the customer journey is very much tailor-made for you.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thanks you for having me. It's a pleasure.